Hi. All right. So, you know the drill. I get on the internet. I talk for about 10 minutes about whatever. And I post it. No retakes, no editing. Yeah. So, today I want to tell y'all, or I suppose I want to ask you, what do you think the purpose of writing is? I think a lot of people who probably will end up watching this are probably school age, somewhere around there, something like that. And I think for a lot of us, writing might just be that one annoying subject that we have in our school that we're like, I don't really care about too much, but. But I think that's because school writing is not always well designed, particularly. And in fact, I think a lot of writing, that we see in schools is not always what inspires us. It's not always what excites us. It's not always what means something to us. So I want you to consider that maybe writing is more than just trying to memorize The Great Gatsby or trying to understand or make sense of one of Robert Frost's poems, right? And those literary works are pretty well regarded, and they're not like terribly written by any means, but they might just not be what speaks to you. And that's okay. But you should find something that speaks to you. You should find something that inspires you, that tells you, hey, there's something here. There's something here that matters to me, and I want to explore that. There should be something in writing for you. I firmly believe that there is a place in writing for everyone. That even if, say, you are a hardcore like STEM nerd, right? Even if you are like, your thing is robotics and you haven't read much before, even if that's your thing and you're writing maybe just like seems like it's on the other end of the planet, right? I think there's something in writing for you. But you have to find what means something to you. And so I was originally actually going to call this You Should Make an Original Character. That was my original video idea, but I think I expanded it a little bit to more reflect kind of like, you should engage with writing. But I think that original point still stands, actually. I think that the reason most people don't like writing is because they're assigned writing that doesn't speak to them. And to solve that problem, to foster that love of writing, you should find writing that speaks to you. You should find writing that speaks to you. You should find writing that means something to you, right? And I think that doesn't have to just be literature, right? It doesn't just have to be like the books. It could be, webcomics. It could be, what are the kids called these days? Anime. Movies, TV, music even, right? Music is writing. Music uses words, uses communication, right? All of these different things are stories. And that's really, I think, what writing can be about, right? It's not the only thing writing's about, right? Writing can also be about critical thinking. Writing can also be about, making sure we understand something solidly so we can make logical arguments and understandings of, what's going on in the world. But right now, I want to talk about writing as a means of expression, as a means of feeling something, as a way to communicate a story, to communicate emotions, ideas, concepts, to teach something, to get you to think, right? When writing is art. All right? I want you to keep that in mind. Like, I want you to marinate with it, right? Oh man, I'm sorry. I love saying marinate with it. It's just such a funny thing to me. Anyhow. So with that in mind, I think you should start writing stories. And I think you should write about original characters. Both of them, yeah, original characters and stories. They're technically, they're intertwined, but not the same thing, right? But the reason I say so, the reason I'm saying, hey, I think you should write, I think you should find stories and write stories, is that writing can be an amazing way to express those emotions, to say, hey, this meant something to me, right? And so to kind of loop back to that original point of like, hey, writing can be to express, I want you to ask yourself, of the media I listed, right? Did you ever find something that spoke to you? Did you ever find something that meant something to you, that made you think, hey, like, it could be just like, hey, that's me. I identify with this. I see myself in this character. Or maybe it's just something that just made you feel, it doesn't have to be any specific emotion, but it made you feel something. Maybe it was seeing a character overcome something really hard that maybe like you've been wanting to overcome, right? Did that speak to you? Maybe, I don't know, a character falling in love, or a character, getting to meet their parents after college, right? Find what matters to you, pretty much. Find what means something to you, right? And don't just look for things that mean something to you, write them. Right? Because, I want you to consume media that matters to you. I want you to consume media that's like, hey, this means something to me. This is cool. And again, like, I'm not saying you can't watch the occasional bad movie. I've watched my fair share of really shitty movies. It's a thing. And, not everything is banger, and that's fine. Sometimes it's just like you watch something kind of stupid and you're like, this was stupid, but it was fun. And hey, that can be part of the fun. That can be part of what means something to you. It's just like, something silly, something fun. And that's great. But I think that writing is different than consuming. Because writing, it requires you to involve yourself in the process of expression. It requires you to think deeply, to create these worlds, to create these stories, these ideas, these concepts, and to write them in such a way as to share them. Maybe not with other people, but even with just yourself, right? And I want you to write stuff that means something to you. Because I think that finding something, and not just finding something, but creating something that means something to you, that can be a really gratifying experience. That can be, a seriously wonderful experience. Because I think for a lot of us, we spend so much time consuming, we spend so much time really just, going through these different things and these different, watching these different TV shows, but it's like, how much of them really mattered to you? When was the last time that you thought to yourself, hey, I really enjoyed this, but also you wanted to engage with it on a deeper level, right? When's the last time you thought deeply about a character or thought deeply about an idea or a concept, right? And of course, there are going to be people who have, like, I know that people write. I work with writers all the time. And if you do that already, amazing. Like, if you already write characters, that's amazing. But this video is for people who haven't, who might be stuck in, just stuck consuming. Because I think consuming can only do so much for us. I think it can only, satisfy so much, because I think it's human nature to create. I think it's part of us. It's inherent to who we are to create something. And that something doesn't have to be writing. If you find out that, you've tried a couple of times, and you're like, yeah, maybe it's just not my thing, it's your thing, and that's fine. But I think you should try. I think you should write an original character. I think you should write a story. And it can be about whatever. But write a story about something that means something to you. Maybe you like horror. Maybe you love horror things, and maybe you've seen like what's it called? The Mandela Catalog, right? Or maybe you've seen like the Backroom stuff, right? Think about what inspired you about those concepts, those ideas, those stories, those realities, and do something with them, right? Your concept doesn't have to be original. Like writing, I think people kind of think of this like, oh, I see these great stories, and I want to write a great story too, but I can't really write that, or I don't know how I would even do it. And I want to stress this, like if nothing else, like if you decide to write, I want you to remember this always. Your writing can suck. Your writing can suck as much as you need it to, so long as it means something to you. Because look, everyone starts somewhere. And if you never start at all, you're never going to be able to create those worlds that mean something to you. I mean, even in my case, right? I started writing original characters, I think, in 2020, right? The big 2020. I think I was entering like freshman year of high school, and I found like it was COVID, right? And so I was looking for stuff to do, and I was like, man, I gotta do something. I can't just like sit here all day. And I found like someone's maybe like, I don't know, like Discord server or something like that. Like there was a writing community out there, right? And I joined it, and my writing sucked. Like looking back on it now, it was horrible. It sucked so bad. Like, and it, but it meant something to little me, to freshman me. It meant a lot, actually. I found that I was really, even if it sucked, like even if I was like really sad that it sucked, and I was like, man, I think my writing sucks and I hate this, that sometimes, I mean, I was a little bit of an angsty teenager. Even if I like didn't always like my writing, it was still a way for me to express my emotions. It was a way for me to say, hey, I'm feeling this thing and I want to talk about it. And I want to express it. And I think this story means something to me. And I think that's pretty cool. I think that if something means something to you, it doesn't really matter how bad it is, or how embarrassing it might be, or how, socially unacceptable it is. It meant something to you. And you should honor that feeling. You should ask yourself, why did it mean something to me? And I think doing that is a really important process in terms of getting to express your emotions, to be in touch with your emotions, because frankly, emotions are important to be in touch with, And I know some people who, they want to avoid their emotions, but I just don't think, and I think like people, sometimes they want to avoid their emotions because it's like, oh, this is kind of painful, or it's kind of just like, it doesn't feel great. But I think if you never express those emotions, they're always going to bubble up in ways that hurt you, And so maybe you could even use characters as a way to vent, as a way to say, hey, this hurts. As a way to say that, maybe this is hurting me, and maybe I do feel some way about it, and maybe I do want to do something about it. And, characters are no substitute for, say, like having a support system in real life, or, having people there for you, but they can be something, They can be a really great way to feel your emotions and to say, hey, what if there was this cool thing that happened? But either way, I think my thoughts have run dry on this. So, have fun with it. Have fun with it. because I think if you don't have fun with it, then what are you doing, man? Enjoy writing. Try it out. Find what means something to you. I'm so sorry, my chair is so creaky. Okay, chair, chill out. Anyhow, find those things that mean something to you. Write them out. Doesn't have to be good, but you gotta write them. Because I think, and I might be wrong on this, but I think that creating is important. And I think it's also just a good practice in letting yourself not expect perfection, That's what I'm doing with these videos. I mean, this is like my first one, and it's not that coherent, honestly. I've written a little bit on it, but it's just, me dumping my thoughts. So, go out there, write stuff, express stuff, find something that means something to you, even if it sucks. Have fun with it.